I'm Colleen Jennings-Roggensack, and I started out in a little teeny town in Texas, Lamarck, Texas. And the reason my early beginnings began there is because my father, Ernest Eugene Jennings, was in the military. He was in the Air Force. So I'm an Air Force brat. I moved with my two siblings, my older brother Carl and my younger brother, my younger sister Cheryl. We moved around the world. We lived in 13 states and 2 foreign countries before I went off to college. But my young life was filled with always the sense of exploration. My parents gave us 3 texts, sacred texts by which to live our lives. One, my mother would always say, you will be a great success if you broaden your horizons. To me, that was the most remarkable gift a young child could have. Your whole goal in life was to see what was out there, was to seek and explore. The second text that my father gave us was give back. You must give back to the community. As they say, you stand on the shoulders of those who come before you. So it is imperative that you give back. And the third sacred text that my father gave us was get a job, get a job, get a job. So we always knew that it was important to be gainfully employed, but in that process, we must be giving back to the community, and we must be broadening our horizons. Again, as my mother said, broadening your horizons, everything is an adventure, and everything is the no thank you helping. One of the things my father taught us was he knew we would be living in various cultures and meeting various people and eating food that was not familiar to us. And he said, you have to have a tablespoon of whatever that is, and it's called your no thank you helping. And until then, you can't say you don't like it. When I was very, very little, my father was stationed at Billy Mitchell Air Force Base on Long Island. And so my mom said, we're going into the city and we're going to see an opera. And we all went, an opera. So at 5 years old, I saw Madame Butterfly. And my first musical I ever saw, Ethel Merman was doing Gypsy on Broadway. I was a little itty bitty. I had these crazy aunts, my Aunt Esther and my Aunt Beta, and they would say, we're going to second act it. So we would go to New York, theater would get out at intermission, and we'd come in. And the secret to second acting is don't go to the balcony, because balcony people will not give up their seats, but orchestra people will leave. So I saw a lot of great second acts of Broadway shows sitting in really amazing seats because of my two crazy aunts, my Aunt Esther and my Aunt Beta, who would take us into the city. So I did my undergraduate school at Oakland University in Rochester, Michigan. We, through our resident assistant, we made up 5 different schedules. And so you would go to the box where you got to pick out your class and they'd say, nope, you're not getting that class, it's gone. And so instead of going, oh, I can't believe it, this is what I wanted, I'd go, Russian, I think I'll take Russian. So my freshman year consisted of Russian language, Chinese novel in translation, Japanese novel, the literature, the history of women figures in literature, kinesiology, and I took a modern dance class. There were nothing on that table was something I had planned on taking, and yet I thought, again, as my parents raised us, it was an adventure. Professor Kovac, who was my Russian professor, said, oh, you're a dancer, you like to move, I want you to be in the Russian Slavic folk ensemble. And I looked at Professor Kovac and said, the Russian Slavic folk ensemble? Do you know I danced with the Russian Slavic folk ensemble all 4 years. So there are a lot of things that you begin to learn as a freshman that you think, what good is that going to do me as my life goes forward? Russian language. Many years later, when I was working at my second job, I began to do work in Moscow, and I actually worked in and out of Russia for over 30 years. My husband and I were both at Dartmouth College, and I was running the Hopkins Center, and my husband was finishing up his PhD program. He's a volcanologist, and he actually is in the School of Science, Space and Exploration here on the campus. I got a call, and the call came from Laddie Core. Laddie said, look, we're looking for someone to run a program here. We've had some difficulty with the program. Why don't you come out and visit us? And to my husband said, we will never live in Arizona. We live in New England. And so when we came to ASU, we really were like, oh, Arizona. And both our parents were like, I don't know, are there any people out there? Are there people of color out there? Where will you live? You're taking our only granddaughter, and she's the only granddaughter on both sides. You're taking her away. And I said, you know, we got out here, we met people, we stood right near Hayden Library and watched classes changed. We went into town and met people. Laddie was just obviously amazing. So we looked at each other and said, what the heck? We should come to Arizona State University, but we'll only come for like 4 years. That will be it. 4 years, we're gonna come, we'll do what we need to do, and then we'll move on. Laddie, of course, you know, retired. I was on the search committee for Dr. Crow, and at that time, I always thought, you know, what you do when leadership changes happens is you go forth and you offer your resignation, and you say, I understand you're coming in, I'll take a year, I'll find some place, we'll move on. And he was like, no, you have to stay. And even Laddie said, no, you have to stay. ASU needs you. It's now been 26 years. We have fallen in love with Arizona State University. That notion that we are ASU, we are here to look at challenges, look at local, national, global challenges, and finding solutions is what's kept me here at ASU. We started with a program we call South No Borders, and we looked at Latinx work and working with Latinx artists, and we worked with what we called drawing the lines between contemporary Native American work and traditional Native American work, and we worked with A3, Asia, Arizona, and the Arts, looking at the 14 different Asian American communities that are here. So we siloed all that work, and then we took the walls away. We've been doing work in Guadalupe, and one of the things we worked with a director, Rodrigo Duarte Clark, with Teatro de la Esperanza, and we said in meeting with community leaders, we always ask 3 questions when we work with artists or communities. What do you want? What do I want? What do we want together? And we work on what we want together. And in the community of Guadalupe, they said, what we'd like to do is reinvigorate the tradition of La Pastorela. But we also have a great commitment to young people. So we see 35,000 school children during the course of the year. And as we all know, many schools don't have arts programs. So we may be their only experience. So we teach teachers to teach the arts, we teach artists to become teachers, and we bring the mountain to the school. We bring the artists to the school, to the teachers. We have been in Australia Correctional Facilities for over 20 years. I can remember the first time we all met as a group and I said, we're going into the jails. And off my staff went, well, what does that mean? Does it mean you're gonna have people in orange jumpsuits sitting in the theater? It might. So all of these things didn't exist in 1992 when I came on this campus. They all exist now because of smart leadership at the top and because I will go back to my parents, you will be a success if you broaden your horizons. All of that over 26 years has been an amazing journey. I will tell you the other thing I also tell people is know when not to say no. Many years ago, many decades ago, Laddie Core said, I need someone to come in and take over this MLK celebration. So we went from a little Danish and a cup of coffee to a movement that goes on all year long. And on each of the campuses, ASU celebrates the tenets of Dr. King. So it is deeply rooted in ASU, just as Dr. King was deeply rooted in universities. And I don't think that there's a university in this country that celebrates and looks at Dr. King's legacy that way. And it is one of the exciting things where 2 years turned into 24 years. And I'm still proud to be the chair of our ASU MLK committee. My first job was to work for the Denver Nuggets and run their youth basketball camp with all their basketball stars. It coincided also with the first job I had as an undergrad one summer working with the Detroit Lions football team. And then I did my graduate studies in Colorado and Fort Collins at Colorado State University. And I had a job as a hall director at Braden Hall. I had my first staff, I was 22 years old. And I actually found my lifelong mentor there, Shelton Stanfill, he just passed away this past year, but he was the head of the fine arts program there. But it was great working with Shelton because the fine arts program at Colorado State included a film program, which again, broadening your horizons. I knew not a great deal about film, so Shelton sent me to the Telluride Film Festival, which to this day I have a great love for film. John Houseman's acting company came every year. I worked there for 7 years, every single year. So you know at ASU Gamage, we have this amazing Broadway series. There's always a play on it. And I really believe it's due back to my work there at Colorado State and back to Shelton being my mentor. My greatest passion has and always will be dance, and it's what's led me on this road to other things. That passion, I would say now, is exactly what our mission is, connecting communities. And everything we do is about connecting communities through the arts. There was no educational program for the arts here in terms of ASU Gamage. We now have one of the top national programs in the country. The musical theater program was rather small. We've since begun our relationship with what is now Broadway Across America and have become the #1 Broadway musical roadhouse in the country. The fact that we work in partnership with HIDA, with the Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts, and we have become part of what's now called the National Accelerator. We actually put funding into that program. We bring artists who will work with our students, our undergrads, and our graduate students, and the community. The advice that I give the young people who I work for is, first of all, learn everything about what it is you're doing. Learn things that your colleagues are also doing. I have a national reputation for going to whatever the event is, sitting in the front row, being focused on the speaker, and when time comes for questions, I raise my hand right away. And someone said, that's the colleague in the room you want to be. You want to be a front row sitter. Go back to what my parents said. You don't sit in the back row. It was hard enough to get at the table. You sit in the front row. And I did that all through my college classes to this day because it means I'm engaged. It is important to be connected. Because again, as my parents said, the stream you're standing in is not the mainstream. It's bigger. It's also a fact where you can pick up a phone and call someone and say, help me think through this process. Help me think what's going on. And you must know how to write, no matter what position it is. You must be able to know how to write and express what you're doing, but also articulate. One of the things I also say, and I do a lot of public speaking across the country and internationally, is passion is what gets you out of bed in the morning. A paycheck, a job title, a place that you live in whatever part of the world doesn't get you out of bed in the morning, but passion does. Because you're going to have bumps along the way, but as long as you are passionate about something, that will get you out of the bed in the morning and keep you going and fulfill you as you go through life. So my husband and I actually met in Colorado. We dated, got married, and 32 years later, here we are. We have just one child, our daughter, Kelsey. I'm a very proud mom. Her goal is to get her PhD, become a dean, and then become a university president because the system needs to be changed and how young people are taught need to be changed. And so that's what's propelling her forward. I have had a charmed life, and I have believed that our better angels has set me on a path to look at how I broaden my horizons, how I give back to the community. And thank you, Arizona State University, I have a job. So my dad's up in heaven going, she got the job. But I really think it's a charmed existence. And is it an easy existence? No. Are there difficulties? Yes. Are there challenges? Yes. But what a great way to live your life. Bring it to his feet. Move.